Hello, sports fans. This is Tull McAdoo from the Irish Politics newsletter, and as always, I'm with my good friend and co-host Vince Martin from Wall Street and Maine. Yes, the Super Bowl is on Sunday, so we're going to talk a bit about sport. So, Vince, the Super Bowl is the biggest sporting event of the year in America, is it?
Absolutely. I think it's actually the biggest event of the year, period. Other than, Christmas Day or whatever.
Bigger than St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah.
That's very poor behavior from you Americans. Bigger than St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Americans, obviously, as always, do not have their priorities in the right order. But yeah, on Super Bowl Sunday, the entire country pretty much focuses on it. There's parties everywhere. The number last year is that 123 million Americans watched the game. So that's over 1/3 of the population. And honestly, to me, that figure actually sounds low. I said pubs are packed, people have parties. People who don't follow American football at all still watch the game because it is kind of a cultural event. One of the last main shared experiences that we have, perhaps.
Yeah, it's not an online community. Something everybody stops and puts their whatever they're doing down for a couple of hours and tunes in.
Right. Yeah. It's a shared social event of the kind that we don't have as much anymore with what they talk about, media fragmentation and things like that. So it is still kind of a neat experience, and it is a nationwide experience. And to kind of put the numbers into context, we said that 123 million people watched that game last year. So baseball had Game 7 of the World Series, so that is a deciding game, featured the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have a huge fan base, and Shohei Ohtani, who's the sport's best player. That game got 27 million viewers. National Basketball Association had a Game 7 that was won by the Oklahoma City Thunder, the greatest team in the history of worldwide sport and the finest group of young men ever put together. There may be some texts on my phone somewhere of me texting friends, quote, "I'm crying in a dive." That was a very exciting game. 17 million people watched that one. What's that? 1/8 of the Super Bowl. So American football is dominant.
Can I ask something there about these 7 games in the NBA and the World Series, laughingly the World Series in baseball? What happens if team wins the first 4 games? Do they still continue with the other 3?
No, the series is over. Yeah.
It goes till 4 first.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. They don't have to go through the whole charade of playing 7 games or anything.
I'm sure somewhere in the executive offices of those leagues is a plan to try and get them to do that so that they can get more TV money. Right. Because that is really what drives American sport. But no, yeah, we call it a sweep. If you lose 4-0 or, it just ends. Everybody goes home.
In the Six Nations, which is a premier rugby tournament in the Northern Hemisphere, if one team loses all their matches, they call it the getting the wooden spoon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if one team wins all their matches, they call it the Grand Slam.
Oh, the Grand Slam. That's funny. Okay.
All games, yes.
Because that's obviously, that's a baseball term too, which is
it?
You hit, Grand Slam in baseball is if there's runners on all 3 bases and you hit a home run that scores 4 runs. That's called a Grand Slam. And that's a term that is used outside of baseball all the time in politics or media or whatever. It's a term for something that's just great.
Yeah, American football was accused of being quite left-wing in recent years after one player took the knee in protest.
Yep, Colin Kaepernick, yep.
What happened to him? Was anything ever heard of him again? He was suspended, was he not?
He was not suspended. What happened to him, it very much depends on who you talk to and what you believe. He had been a really good player, did kneel as a form of protest. This created pretty ferocious backlash, mostly from people on the right who said it was unpatriotic to kneel during the national anthem. Ironically, he came to that decision by discussing his options with a veteran of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he spent that year kneeling. A couple people joined him. He wasn't suspended, but at the end of that year, basically no one else would sign him. And he's alleged that it was basically an organized boycott by the owners. It was a little strange that he didn't get signed. He had been at one point a really, really good player. He was not as good the year he started kneeling. Objectively, it did seem like he was good enough to have a roster spot somewhere to be in the league. It may have just been that he got to the point where he wasn't good enough for teams to deal with that headache. But yeah, that was a story that transcended sport and really got into politics. And American sport always does that. It always winds up in the political sphere one way or the other.
That's not the first time politics has interfered with American football or American sport in general, Vince, is it? You've just quite a bit of history going on there.
Yeah, and they're always intertwined. There was further criticism along those lines, like during 2020. Football teams had political slogans on the end zone, the back of their helmet, that they were kind of criticized by people on the right. Historically, most of the criticism comes from the left because there's a sense that the NFL in particular gets to be a little bit over-militarized. It's a little imperial, that's fighter jets flying over the games and all this stuff.
It's a brutal combat sport, so it's hardly something that you're going to be sitting around playing Kumbaya, is it?
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's a fair response to those criticisms. But yeah, I mean, it has popped up like a 1991 Super Bowl 25, the national anthem. You guys sing national anthems before all your games, right?
The Irish rugby team has 2 national anthems, Vince. So we have Our On the Vian, the Soldier Song, and Ireland's Call. And Ireland's Call was composed by Phil Coulter to keep the Unionists on side in Ulster, because it's largely an Anglican sport up there, Church of Ireland or Protestant or Methodist, whatever you have in yourself. So Phil Coulter wrote this song, and it's quite popular in rugby circles, but it's been derided in other circles. So the rugby team has 2 national anthems. The Irish team has one song.
Yeah.
And before every inter-county GAA match, so that's Cork versus Kerry or Tipperary versus Dublin, the national anthem will be played before each match, each inter-county match. And for all individual county finals, they'll be played there as well. So,
okay. Yeah, politics and sport intertwined everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have the anthem played before every match, high school, college, professional. But before the 91 Super Bowl, Whitney Houston sang the anthem, and it's widely believed to be one of the best renditions of the anthem ever. There's another famous one at the NBA All-Star Game by Marvin Gaye. Those are kind of like 1, 2 as the best ones. And Houston's performance was considered particularly stirring because we had just started the first Gulf War, and it was seen as this hugely patriotic moment and all these sorts of things. So
she would have been feeding into a nation's psychosis there as we went to war in the Middle East, I think. So
in retrospect, it does look a little dimmer, doesn't it? Yeah. At the time, particularly, this is 1991, so this is right after we've won the Cold War. America's riding pretty high and pretty convinced of its moral superiority, which may still be the case. I'm not sure. I'll leave that up to overseas listeners. But yeah, that was a very famous one. The other famous, stirring, but widely beloved moment was George W. Bush after 9/11. That was at the World Series. Before baseball games, there's a ceremonial first pitch.
What's the first pitch for Irish people that don't watch baseball?
Right. A regular season game, the Cubs are playing at Wrigley in Chicago in July. They just have somebody come out and they go to the pitcher's mound and they throw out a pitch, and it's often a celebrity. Maybe it's a hero. Maybe it's someone that they're trying to honor or whatever. So it's not usually a huge deal. It's kind of a fun, hey, look at this person. They come out every now and then. Somebody throws the ball right into the dirt or falls on their ass and everybody, gets a good laugh. But George W. Bush threw out the first pitch at Game 1 of the World Series after 9/11 in New York City and walked out and threw just an absolute strike. I mean, he threw it right down the middle, and it was kind of this big patriotic moment of...
Does he own a baseball team in Texas? Am I remembering that correctly?
He was part owner of the Texas Rangers Major League professional team before he got into politics, yeah.
So he knows a bit about baseball.
That was back when you could buy a stake in a baseball team for a few $1 million. Those days are over.
Okay, why are those days over?
There's just been so much money.
You need hundreds of millions now as opposed to tens of millions, is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure in baseball. I mean, the cheapest National Football League franchise right now is probably worth about $4 billion. The NFL team in Washington just sold for $6 billion. Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA are selling, I believe, for $10 billion. There are a lot of reasons why the valuations keep going up, but TV money is basically the biggest.
Yeah, well, I mean, TV money is driving everything at the moment.
Right.
So what else should we know about the Super Bowl? Who has the most wins, Vince?
I'm not answering that question. I'm a fan of the New York Jets. That question has 2 answers. There's 2 teams that are tied. One is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The other is a team full of just just bad human beings. They're just,
And who's
their
that?
souls are ugly. I can't say the name. I really don't want to do it. It's something.
Is it the New England Patriots? Is that who
it
it is?
might be. Yeah. It doesn't even sound right. And the fact that they call themselves Patriots, I think it's really obnoxious. The Patriots are the New York Jets' biggest rival.
Okay.
So it has been excruciating to be a New York Jets fan. I've been a New York Jets fan my whole life, and they have not made what we call the playoffs in 15 years. If you don't really know what that means, let me just point out, we have 4 major sports here: football, basketball, hockey, baseball. The New York Jets have gone the longest without making the playoffs of any of the 120 or so teams across those 4 sports. That's how bad they've been. And meanwhile, our rival had Tom Brady, who even Irish non-football fans probably have heard of. Yes, probably the greatest player ever.
Married to a supermodel.
To make matters worse, and kind of a funny story, the reason Tom Brady became the starting quarterback, he was the backup, is because the Patriots are playing the Jets, and the Patriots quarterback got hit so hard by a New York Jets linebacker that he literally almost died.
Oh,
He
God.
sheared a blood vessel in his chest. He was bleeding internally. And so not only did the Jets have to watch Tom Brady, win 6 Super Bowls in 20 years, he was only playing because a New York Jet knocked his
Hurt his
predecessor. Knocked his predecessor out of the game.
Yeah, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers former owner, Dan Rooney, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the ambassador to Ireland at one stage.
Right. Yes, he was, right. Yep.
Yeah, so I think he brought the Pittsburgh Steelers over for a show game at one stage in Lansdowne Road or Croke Park or somewhere, I can't remember, but he was quite a popular character in Ireland.
Yeah, they're a neat story because they've been family owned from the jump. So as
it's there a couple of generations.
Yeah. And there are still a couple teams. The Chicago Bears are another where the founding family still owns the team, and they might have started it for, $100,000 in 1932 or whatever it is, and now it's worth, these teams are worth billions. They're literally the family business.
What's the name of the Super Bowl trophy? Is it called the Vince Martin Trophy? Is it called the Tull McAdoo Trophy? What's it called?
It's the Vince Lombardi Trophy, after a famous coach of the Green Bay Packers, widely believed to be, probably still is widely believed to be the greatest coach ever, or one of them anyways.
What makes him stand out as the greatest coach ever?
He won a lot. He was a huge. So he was. In the context of football, which prides itself on being that way and has a lot of military terminology. In fact, bombs and blitzes and all these things.
It's quite strategic.
Right, for sure. Yeah, people have made the point that it kind of echoes an old school battle. It's like a trench warfare where you're moving up and down and trying to just gain territory.
It's very stop and start. I find it a hard watch. Stopping and starting all the time makes me want to pick up a book.
Yeah, my wife despises American football, and I don't, but I get it. It is a bizarrely slow game, and I don't know if any listeners in Ireland happen to go to. They've had a few college and then now the one pro game in Dublin.
Yeah.
Seeing it live is kind of not great. It's really a television sport. If you see it live, it's slow. And one of the things that's pretty wild, if you're at a football game live, you're probably there for about 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Really?
And there's about 18 minutes of action across that. 18 to 20 minutes of action across 3 hours and 15 minutes, right? You run a play, it takes 6 seconds, then it stops, everyone comes back, then there's timeouts, there's half times. But yeah, there's only actually something going on for about 18 minutes, 20 minutes over a 3 hour plus football game. So I'm sympathetic to the idea that it's just not a great sport.
I know people that love it. I have a good pal of mine is a big Badgers fan in Wisconsin.
Right.
Richard, if you're listening. That leads us into advertising, because the one thing I've noticed during watching the Super Bowl or watching it on the TV, if I have nothing else on what to watch, if there's 2 flies crawling up the wall, there's a good chance I might watch that before I watch the American football. So there's a lot of advertising around it, and the advertising is a big part of the Super Bowl experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and we just talked about like how the franchises keep going up in valuation, and we're talking about TV money being the factor. Broadly speaking, sports are incrementally more attractive to advertisers because the rest of the media world is kind of fragmented. So like an NFL game, even in September, is the only way that you can have an ad that 20 million people are going to see. We don't have shows like Seinfeld or Friends anymore that used to get those kind of ratings. So you kind of have to advertise on sports. And that's all supercharged for the Super Bowl. Again, the audience is over 100 million Americans. So there's literally nothing that you can do that will come close to the exposure that you get. This year, I think they're saying the ads cost $10 million for 30 seconds.
Whoa.
So, yeah, we were talking about taking one out for the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
We don't need that exposure.
We don't. Yeah. I mean, we have plenty of listeners anyways, and we love our listeners, but it's cost $10 million and they will spend millions of dollars creating the commercials too. They have all famous actors jump in them. They spend years on the creative side of it because they have to be basically the best ads ever made.
Iconic ads, iconic advertising.
Yeah. Yep. There are people who aren't interested in the game, but they'll stop and make sure that they're paying attention to the commercials. They'll become cultural. People are going to be talking about the commercials on Sunday night and Monday morning. And some of them, like there's famous Budweiser ones every now and then that where the things the characters said. There was one that the guy kept saying, "What's up?"
That's right.
Like
the Budweiser one.
Yeah. And that people became like this annoying pop culture thing for, a couple of years. And
yeah, I mean, Ridley Scott directed an Apple commercial. Did you not? It was regarded as one of the best ads of all time, apparently. Volkswagen did a child dressed up as Darth Vader, and the ad was called The Force. Cindy Crawford did a Pepsi ad.
Yeah. You'll see big time stars. I mean, A-list stars will do it because they're making $5 million or whatever. Like I said, some of these commercials all in are $25, $30 million expenses, almost without exception. They're all brand new. They're all commercials that no one's ever seen before.
And they'll just be shown for the Super Bowl commercial, and that's it. They won't be shown anywhere else.
Some of them, I think, do have a longer life. But yeah, there are some that are really Super Bowl focused. And yeah, that's it. They're not running again. They're not part of broader advertising campaigns.
They did polling on this, would you believe? And they reckon about 30% of viewers watch it specifically for the advertising and the halftime show.
I think that sounds right. Yeah.
So
yeah, anecdotally, that feels right.
Yeah, I mean, the marketing people know what they're talking about. I'm guessing the marketing people did the polling on this to find out exactly who's watching what and why. So It just goes to show it's a whole college industry in itself, the advertising around it.
There are so many people watching the games who don't really care about the game that it's kind of like a trope. Guy's team makes the Super Bowl and he goes to a pub or he goes to a party to watch it and he's, just hanging on life and death over it. And then, of course, like there's someone at the party who's going, why are they throwing the ball? Why are they kicking the ball? What's fourth down mean? And the poor guy's like trying so has to explain American football while his heart's breaking or exploding.
Why is it called a Super Bowl? Why is it called not Super American Football or, the World Series of American Football, like baseball or something? Why is it called a Super Bowl?
It was like the kid of an original owner of Kansas City had a toy called a Super Ball. And somehow that came up. The bowl reference is a college football reference. College football teams have had these year-end games called bowls for like 100 years.
One, isn't it?
The Rose Bowl is the most famous. Yeah, probably the most famous one in Los Angeles. The granddaddy of them all, as they call it. And then, it is the NFL. It's got to be super. It can't just be.
Yeah, it has to be the super. It has to be American, is a super or World Series. Yeah, I have a question. How players are recruited to American football franchises are much different to other professional sports and how they're recruited. Say for soccer, young children are scouted and taken to academies and this kind of thing.
Right.
They're picked straight out of college.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. In American football, college football is the minor league. There is no other pathway. You play in high school, you're recruited by colleges, you play in college, then you are drafted in the NFL.
So I have a question there. Do you have to go to university or college to be able to go play American football professionally?
Yeah, technically you don't have to go to college, but you do have to be 3 years past your high school graduation. For Americans, there's just basically no way to be seen outside of the college infrastructure.
It's your window of opportunity. You're on show there.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, like there are no other leagues. It's not like, in hockey or in baseball, there are minor leagues where you could prove yourself. They keep trying to make a football minor league. They had the European League for a while. It's never really worked. There are players who play in the NFL without going to American universities, and that's usually guys from overseas. One of the common ones is they'll go to Australia for Australian rules football players and sign them to be punters or kickers, which are specific positions where you actually do kick the football.
Yeah. Well, I have some interesting trivia there for you. In the last number of years, the NFL has come to look at GA players for punting and kicking. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
We have a former County Down GA senior goalkeeper, Charlie Smith. He's kicker now for the New Orleans Saints. And he joined through what's called the International Player Pathway Program, which is an outside recruiting arm of the NFL. We have a Jude McTamney, a former Derry GA player, also kicking for the Giants.
Oh, how about that? Yeah. No, not my boys. I'm a Jets fan.
Oh, Jets. Sorry.
Yeah, the Giants are the other. The Giants are the other New York team. And they are the New York Giants, and they are the New York Jets. And where do you think that they play?
The Jets play in New Jersey, maybe?
Yeah, they both play in New Jersey, famously.
They both play in New Jersey, so it's a massive derby when they play each other.
Yeah, they only play each other once every 4 years. So.
Why every 4 years? Once every 4 years?
Because they're in different conferences.
Okay.
Which the NFL is broken up into 8 divisions, 4 divisions of 4 in each conference, and you play teams in your division twice a year, and
Unless you end up in the same division of them, as if you get promoted, you get go up a division, is it?
No, we don't have any promotion or relegation.
That's just your division, and that's it. Tough luck.
Yeah. So the New York Jets play every year. They play the Buffalo Bills twice. They play the Miami Dolphins twice, and they play the aforementioned satanic organization up in Massachusetts. They play them twice.
New England Patriots, yes. And there's a Dublin-born kicker playing for the Packers, Mark McNamee. So they're all former GA players, Gaelic football players, for our American listeners, if you can.
And what is Gaelic football? I mean, is it closer to? It's closer to rugby than to football, right?
It would be very similar
to what we call soccer, right?
Yeah, to what you call soccer. It's very hard to give a visual description of it over a podcast. So the best thing I can say to you is go on YouTube or go on TikTok, just put in GA football and you'll see all manner of tackles, and they play with a round ball, same shape as a soccer ball. It's just more physical. You're able to run with the ball in your hand. It bears more resemblance to Aussie rules football than it does, I suppose, in the other sport in the world. So, Gaelic football is the largest sport in Ireland by, maybe not by participation, but by viewership anyway, at least during the summer. Different season. It's played between, in March and August. So it's probably the most watched sport at that during those months of the year, during those 9 months of the year. Other than that, soccer is probably the most watched sport in Ireland, and it's not even homegrown soccer. It's Premiership soccer that is the most popular.
Now, when you say that Gaelic football is popular, now that's done at GAA, Gaelic Athletic Association, and that's
Gaelic
all done
done
at the county level, right?
It's all done at parish level. Your borough, I suppose, would be the equivalent of what I'm trying to say there. Maybe your neighbourhood.
Okay.
Be a collection, Raleigh maybe would have its own team. I suppose cities in North Carolina would have their own teams, and that'd be your parish in inverted commas. It's your local area, essentially. So, on the island of Ireland, there's about 2,200 clubs in total.
Wow. Okay.
There's over 400 additional clubs that are registered outside Ireland, from everywhere from the USA, France, Australia, Belgium. I think they have one in Scandinavia, Canada, South America. There's one in Buenos Aires, if I remember correctly. They're all over the world. There's 400 clubs all over the world. So it's a worldwide sport. It's probably played more outside of Ireland than American football would be played outside the USA.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, American football as a participation sport has never really gained much traction overseas. Again, they've tried, particularly in Europe. They've been trying for decades.
County Cork has the highest number of clubs with 259.
Okay.
Has a population of 500,000 thereabouts, the whole county. Dublin has 134 clubs is what they officially say, but it could be a little bit higher because some clubs will play hurling and Gaelic football as opposed to just Gaelic football. So Gaelic games are the most participated games on the island of Ireland by a long shot.
Okay.
But Premiership soccer is the most probably watched sport on the island of Ireland from between, the end of August to May.
It is amazing how big soccer is. Like, we're talking about the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, look what a huge event it is. It's airs in 200 countries, 130 million people are going to watch it, whatever the number is. I think the World Cup final gets like 500 million people worldwide watching it. I mean, they are just stunning numbers it's always strange as an American because soccer is probably our fifth most popular sport and a pretty distant fifth.
Yeah, but is this one of the fastest growing sport in the United States, I believe, is it?
They kind of pitch it that way. Like, I think that's more a marketing slogan than anything else, to be honest with you. It might kind of technically be true on some metric, but they are growing. The Major League Soccer is our domestic professional league, but they've been trying it for 60 years. It just has never really
taken off,
been able to penetrate the big four. It's pretty far behind even hockey in terms of fan interest and salaries and money and things like that.
And rugby's even further behind again, isn't it?
Yeah. Rugby is a very niche sport. Even at the college level, it's usually what's called a club sport. So it's not like actually part of the athletic department and things like that. Rugby has very, very small base here. It's a niche sport with kind of like, I don't know, maybe gymnastics, things like that. But people here do play soccer. Like, youth soccer has huge participation. I didn't, but most Americans do play soccer at some point growing up.
Vince, I think the reason soccer, as you call it in the United States, might be one of the quickest growing sports is because if you're standing on the side of the pitch, you might not be over the moon about watching little Johnny or little Sam getting slammed into the floor at 6 or 7 years of age. Would that be fair? Especially with all the controversies in recent years about concussions in American footballers.
Yeah, there has been some debate over youth participation in American football. They've put in rules to kind of minimize concussions, things like that. There probably is a little bit of a boost to soccer from kids not playing football and choosing that instead. But the popularity of youth soccer here goes back even before all the concussion issues came up. It's just always been a very popular sport to let your kids play, but at the same time, it's just not a sport that Americans have shown all that much interest in watching.
It's not violent enough.
I guess we underestimate how violent it is. Definitely, like
ice hockey is quite violent, isn't it?
Ice hockey, yeah.
I like a great ice hockey match. I really do like a good ice hockey match. But that's not just in the United States. They play that a national league with Canada and the United States, is it?
Right. Yeah. The National Hockey League has 7 teams in Canada, and cruelly, a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup in 32 years.
Oh, right.
Which is really mean. Like, they're just this hockey mad country. The last Stanley Cup was won by a team in Miami, and the year before was Las Vegas.
They don't have ice in Miami.
I assume it has to be artificially made, although we have natural ice here in Raleigh right now. We're sitting in the middle of a snowstorm. So it's just mean because it is the national sport in Canada. They are so obsessed with it, and they just can't get over the hump. You said Premier League football is the most popular sport in Ireland. That's not a surprise, as I said, given how popular it is globally, but it is a little surprising that it's the English league is popular in Ireland, no?
Well, this is a very famous bugbear of mine, and people think I'm being contrarian. But I do not. It is the most viewed sport on the island of Ireland, the Premiership. I mean, as many as 10,000 people every weekend travel from Ireland to the UK for Premiership matches.
Oh, to attend them, wow, that's crazy.
Attend them, or not just Premiership matches, but I take it First Division matches, any matches that you have going. It's piped into our houses 24/7. You can't escape it. Probably one of the best marketing pieces in the world has been the Premiership. I struggle with that on a personal level because I'm obviously a Cork man. I wasn't born in Manchester. I wasn't born in Liverpool. I wasn't born in London. I wasn't born in, Leeds or Newcastle or Sunderland or any of those cities. All wonderful places, all wonderful people in those cities. But I wasn't born there, so I don't feel a connection with supporting them.
Right.
And people, and you see fellas jumping up and down in the pub and they're roaring, running around the place with their head on fire with a Liverpool jersey on or Man United jersey on. And I'm like, man, you're from Kerry. I don't think of anybody. I don't think you've been any further, east than West Cork somewhere. I am like, good grief, man. I find that's their thing. That's fair enough. But I just do not get it. You weren't born there. Why do you support them? And what it is marketing, good marketing over the years from the UK into Ireland about supporting Premiership teams. And, in our heyday in the 90s, we had a lot of Irish players playing over in the UK, famously Roy Keane, Paul McGrath, giants of Irish football and giants of European football at the time. Ray Houghton, Tony Cascarino, take your pick of internationally famous players. And Ireland were punching above its weight in the 90s. And famously, we got to the quarterfinals of a World Cup. But apart from all that, it just leaves me cold because there's so much money there and there's so much corruption in soccer, particularly when there's that amount of money involved. It just leaves me cold. And look, I watch it. I'm probably guilty as watching it as much as anybody else, but I just don't support any English Premiership team.
I get that a little bit.
Because I was not born in Liverpool or Manchester or Leeds or wherever.
Yeah, but that's not really how fandom works, though. I mean, first of all, there is a willful delusion to being a fan. There's a famous joke from Jerry Seinfeld 40 years ago that, you're just rooting for laundry. But the fact that I was born, in North Jersey and chose to be a Jets fan, I mean, people pick up teams for random reasons as well. When I lived in Oklahoma, we'll talk a little bit about college sports in a minute, but I lived in Oklahoma where people are just rabid fans of the University of Oklahoma or Oklahoma State football teams. And Texas and Oklahoma are big rivals, and they'd be screaming about Texas all Saturday. They suck. If Oklahoma beat Texas, there'd be parties all over the state. Like 3/4 of the Oklahoma football team when I was there was from Texas.
Okay,
They've been recruited there. And not only that, on Sundays, about 3/4 of those University of Oklahoma fans on Sunday would turn on the NFL and root for their favorite team, which was usually the Dallas Cowboys. It's all delusional. It's all nuts.
Yeah, I look, it is on one level, but I'm looking at some of these people, and I look at some of these people, particularly on social media, and they're talking about the Brits out of Ireland here. I get the Brits out of Ireland, the Brits, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you're wearing a Spurs jersey. You're wearing a jersey from a soccer team in London, and you're saying get the Brits out of Ireland. I'm like, okay, I don't get that. I don't understand it.
You're looking for logic in a place that I think doesn't. If you look too closely at sport in general, the whole thing's just nuts. The fact that it's a $500 billion a year industry globally or whatever it is just insane. It's grown men. It's grown men playing children's games.
Yeah, and you know what will kill you the most, Vince? Hope. Hope will kill you the most when it comes to sport. I know this. My beloved Cork keep losing in All-Ireland finals. It's the most dangerous performance-enhancing thing in sport. That's what hope is. As a fan of a losing team yourself, Vince, you know that. It's the hope that always gets you in the end.
Yeah, the Jets have been particularly brutal, getting your hopes up and then dashing them. And my father actually has the worst fandom story I've ever heard.
Go on, tell us.
The New York Jets started in 1960 as part of what was known as the American Football League. It was a rival league to the NFL. And for whatever reason, my dad just became a Jets fan instantly. In the 65 years the New York Jets have existed, they won the Super Bowl once. It was in 1969. It was the third Super Bowl, and it's a famous game in the history of the NFL because it was a huge upset by the Jets, who were part of this upstart AFL league. And they beat the Baltimore Colts of the NFL, which allowed the two leagues to merge and kind of set the combined league on its path to dominating American sport. So they had that moment. It was glorious. One of the most famous upsets in the history of sport. My father found out that the Jets won 3 weeks after the game when he got back to base camp in Vietnam and read about it in Stars and Stripes newsletter. The one good year in the Jets' 65-year history. My father missed the entire year. He was in combat in Vietnam. And the last couple of years of his life, it was honestly a little bit torturous to watch him watch the Jets. Like, there was that desperation. And I was in Chicago in 2016 when the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in 108 years.
There was a curse there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a curse of
Bambino, is it?
No, the curse of the Bambino was the Boston Red Sox, who had Babe Ruth, nicknamed the Bambino. The owner sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees to finance a Broadway musical.
Okay.
And then they didn't win. I think it was like 80 odd years. And the Cubs went over a century without winning. The Cubs were so bad that there was a joke in one of the Back to the Future movies that they had won. The Cubs winning the World Series was supposed to be funny. Like it was that far in the future that they finally got it done. They've been losers for that long. But again, it's delusional. But, you know, the cemetery near Wrigley Field, all for a year, there was Cubs hats next to the flowers on the gravestones. There's people telling stories about growing up, going to Wrigley with their grandfather and wishing he had seen it. As silly and delusional as it can be. And again, as somebody who, you know, when the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball team won in June, I was literally in tears. I didn't think I was going to start crying. I'm still not sure why I started crying, but yeah, I was in tears, texting people, hugging people. I spent $300 in a dive. I don't entirely remember how I spent all that money. And I do know I didn't spend it all on myself. So I think some people had a good night on my behalf as well. But yeah, I mean, it's neat. There is something that I think is wonderful about it, is even though you can really poke holes in it, as silly as it can be.
Yeah, we have a famous curse in Ireland in GA as well. It's called the Curse of 51. And the long and short of it is the Mayo football team were going through a town in County Mayo, and they never stopped to pay their respects properly at a funeral. They'd won the All-Ireland final in the Gaelic football, and they were partying, and, you know, things got out of hand. And the funeral demands that, you know, a teen falls silent and stops and pays their respects.
Right.
You know, they got too caught up in celebrations. And the priest basically said, you know, he stopped the players, looked at them, gave them the 1,000-yard stare. He said, as long as you all live, County Mayo will never win another All-Ireland. And what is true,
they were cursed by a priest?
Yes, well, right, so get this right. It's been more than 70 years, and they've lost 11 All-Ireland finals. That's the equivalent of losing 11 of your Super Bowls.
11 Super Bowls without winning one. Oh, my goodness.
And
that is outstanding.
I think there's one gentleman still alive, and they still haven't won. So if I was him, I'd be looking over my shoulder, because Mayo fans are getting a bit
crazy story. Yeah,
it is true. Well, whether it's true or not, the police cursed them. Who knows? But I mean, they've been to 11 Super Bowl finals. County Mayo have their equivalent, and they've lost every single one of them.
That is nuts.
That's our famous. Yeah, that's our famous curse. The curse of 51.
The lesson of the podcast is don't with Irish funerals, right?
Yeah. You know, get off your cap, pay your respects, and keep the head down.
That's a great lesson to end on. This is going to be a extended discussion. We have so much to cover. We're going to break this up into 2 parts. And part 2, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk more about Irish sport, cover the absolute insanity that is American college athletics, including the most American name in history. We're going to talk corruption in FIFA, and we'll wrap it up on a high note with our favorite sporting memories. We really hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, we're going to have some coverage of the Epstein files become worldwide news as we're recording this. So we do hope you keep tuning in. We thank you so much for listening. On behalf of Tull McAdoo, this is Vince Martin for the Atlantic Current. Goodbye. We'll see you next time.